All right, take two. Had to end my last video because I had to fight a cat that was deciding all of my stuff needed to be on the floor. I hope you guys are having a good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is you're looking at this. First of all, thank you for watching it. I can't thank you enough. I've got the same few kids who seem to be watching these, and trust me, that has definitely impacted the way I feel about you for a positive because I really appreciate it. And I know that sometimes this can get rambly. Um, because these aren't really planned. They're just off the cuff. I'm doing it just as a help and just as a way to stay in touch with you guys and stay face to face, at least so that you have that. All right. So we left off yesterday with our protagonist about to meet his death. It's 115 pages or 114 pages in on the PDF I sent you guys, and we're on page 9, and we're about to lose our main character. So he's still going to be in the story, obviously, but it's kind of an interesting way to write, to be honest with you. So we start off with, "Here are the sounds of Eddie's last minutes on Earth." Now, you look at that sentence, there's nothing super fancy about it, but it does what it needs to, and it keeps you reading. It keeps you in suspense in a way, and that's kind of the goal here. And that's important. Um, I can't figure out what's reflecting in my glasses. Oh, the computer screen. Great. No way to fix that. Sorry. It's driving me nuts. I don't know if it's been driving you guys nuts. If not, it will now since I mentioned it. Um, so we have at this point, there's a ride apparently that takes people up and drops them, and Eddie and them are. He notices that this ride is leaning over the way it's not supposed to, and it looks like people are about to literally fall, not a controlled fall. And Eddie reacts like great. He is on it. He immediately jumps into panic mode, but not in like the panic mode the way we are. He immediately starts calling who he needs to, telling him what to do, immediately starts diagnosing what happened. Um, he says he must have hit the emergency stop. That's why the cart is hanging. Get up the ladder and tell Willie to manually release the safety restraint so people can get out. Okay, it's on the back of the cart, so you're going to have to hold him while he leans out there. Okay, then the two of you now, not one, you got it. The two of you've got to get them out. One holds the other. Got it. Got it. So look at how controlled and like focused he is in this instance, which is another sense of indirect characterization. It tells us a lot about this guy and who he is. Um, so it keeps going, and it all of a sudden clicks with him that the cable that holds these things up is unraveling. So now he's got a bigger problem. It's not just a simple like the thing's stuck. Let's get him out, and then we'll manually release it and see what happens. It's this entire thing's about to come down. Um, so and he notices at this point there's a car key wedged in there that is causing some of these issues. And of course, we saw the car key being put out earlier. Now, one of the videos I've mentioned this in, I don't know what class it was, but there is a thing in theater called Chekhov's gun. And it's this theory that if you, were to put a gun on the mantle or hang it on a wall or something in a scene, then by the end of the play, that thing has to have been used. Everything should be purposeful. So the little story about the guy losing his car keys, good writers don't just have that in there to fill space or just show off, hey, here's another character I created. It's there on purpose. It's there to show to set the stage for a bigger detail to come later. By the way, it's called Chekhov's gun because of a writer called Anton Chekhov, who was known for doing this sort of thing. And you have actually read something of his this year. Way back in the first quarter, we read a story called A Problem. It was about the Russian youth who wrote a bad check basically, and there's a big hassle with his family about whether they were going to let him go to jail or pay it back. That's that writer. So there you go, a little bit of trivia. All right, so once Eddie realizes what's going on, he starts yelling, "Don't release the cart! Hey, hey, it's the cable! Don't release the cart! It will snap!" And at that point, there's a lot of problems. Okay. Because as this thing comes down and hits, there's people down around the bottom, so it could do something to them. Uh, and at that point, again, another one of Mitch Albom's great little sentences says, "And Eddie saw the last face of his life." Okay, and we're on page 11 at this point. And he sees the little girl. Again, remember we went into great detail to describe this little girl he made a pipe cleaner animal for. So again, it sets up this part of the story. Writers don't just sit down and write like you write, where you start with the first word and end with the last, and then turn in whatever you got. There's a lot of planning and a lot of intention to what they do. So he sees the little girl. He rushes forward to try to save her. It says Eddie's eyes shot from her to the carts. Did he have time? Her to the carts. Whomp, too late. The carts were dropping. Um, and so at this point, he still tried. It says Eddie lunged. I'm skipping a little. His bad leg buckled. He half flew, half stumbled toward her, landing on the metal platform, which ripped through his shirt and split open his skin just beneath the patch that read Eddie in maintenance. He felt two hands in his own, two small hands, a stunning impact, a blinding flash of light, and then nothing. So, I mean, it says that his skin's ripped right between where it says Eddie and maintenance. Well, that puts you about right there on most of those work shirts, mid chest. So he's dead. Uh, and the thing that's going to dominate a lot of this novel is we don't know if he saved this little girl or not. And it bothers him consistently. So he does. He says right as he dies, he feels her hands in his own, which is a really tender moment. And it really, even though we know it's coming, that's one of the things that's great about this, by the way. Even though we know that his death's coming from the very first paragraph, you're still not prepared when it happens. It still hits. And we don't even really have much development of this character, and it still hits. So that's a testament to our writer. Now, another cool writing style thing we get into is there's a lot of these little sections called Today is Eddie's Birthday. They all have the same title. They all link to birthdays that he's had throughout his life. The idea that people think about their life in the last minutes before they, as they're dying, he's kind of doing that. But, it's not really. This is just flashbacks for the sake of the readers, right? This first one's his actual first birth, his birthday, his birth. It says it's the 1920s, a crowded hospital in one of the poor sections of the city. Eddie's father smokes cigarettes in the waiting room, excuse me, where the other fathers are also smoking cigarettes. A very common, stereotypical image of these old, pre-60s maybe, waiting rooms where all the men are sitting around smoking cigars and the man's never in the room with the woman and things like that. Not the way it works today. So he gets to meet his baby for the first time, and that's all there is to it. It's just very simple. It's just giving us that background, all right? Then it begins something called the journey. So we start with the end, and Eddie dies. We see his birthday section. Now we get the journey, all right? So the first birth with his death kind of sets up a nice bookend. Okay, so now we get into the journey. Says Eddie saw nothing of his final moment on Earth, nothing of the pier or the crowd or the shattered fiberglass carts. So it's just like it immediately ends for him. It says in the stories about life after death, the soul often floats above the goodbye moment, hovering over police cars at highway accidents or clinging like a spider to a hospital room ceiling. These are people who receive a second chance, who somehow, for some reason, resume their place in the world. Eddie, it appeared, was not getting a second chance. So that's kind of cool. It kind of, all these people that say, I remember a big light, and then I remember looking down and seeing all these people around my body. He says those are the people who, get brought back. And he says, but for everyone else, you begin your trip to the afterlife. A lot of description here of what he was going through at the end. And think about what it is he thinks about in this section. He thinks about the little girl. Did he save her? That's what he says. He's not doing the whole, oh, poor me, I'm dead. What am I going to do? He thinks about, did I save that girl? Did I do something at the end? But did he realize it's something else? I think this is one of your questions. He says, did I save her? We're on the top of page 14, by the way. Did I save her? Did she live? Where is my worry? Where is my pain? That was what was missing. Every hurt he'd ever suffered, every ache he'd endured, it was all gone as an expired breath. He could not feel agony. He could not feel sadness. His consciousness felt smoky, wisp-like, incapable of anything but calm. So, and while this isn't totally the idea of heaven that we're presented biblically, which, is very vague, to be honest with you. God doesn't give us this great description of here's what heaven is going to be like. But suffering being gone is part of it for sure, and that is worked in here, because this man is 83 and has all sorts of injury and is all sorts of sore constantly, and he has none of that now. It says he doesn't feel sadness. Now, him wondering about the girl doesn't necessarily mean sadness, okay? So understand this isn't like contradictory at all. And he closes it with something, where's my worry and where is my pain? It's like he misses it. And to be honest with you, I feel like that's kind of a neat little side comment about how, you're on your way to heaven. And what you're doing is you're worrying about where did all of my pains and aches go. And we're people that a lot of us seem to thrive on that. You know, that you see this all the time with people. When bad things happen, they want to be the one to deliver the news. And if they don't have something to complain or gripe about, they're going to create it, because it's just they don't know how to exist without that part of who they are. And it feels like kind of maybe Eddie's got a little bit of that. Now we get another today's Eddie's birthday passage really quickly after, and now he's 5. It shows him at 5, and it shows him playing at the very pier he died at just now. So Eddie's life is really cool. There's a lot of like circular parts where, you know, he starts in one spot and then comes back to it throughout. And a lot of us, our lives are that way. We just don't think about it. We don't have the picture to look at, the big picture, you know. Um, Says, let's see what's going on in this one. Sorry, I'm trying to read it while we do it. I had my book at the school that has all of my notes in it. I read all this again as I was prepping it for you guys. This is just a lot of like them playing around at the park. He, he's meeting some of the people that were in the role he had when he died at that time period. Just a little bit about his family life, just kind of characterization. A lot of characterization is not just giving you info about the characters, but making them seem real. And that's what these little sections do. Now, the arrival was the next big section, okay? And this is where we stopped for today. So, and guys, feel free to keep reading if you want to. There's nothing saying you have to stop. These are little small sections for my students who need things in little small clumps. Several of you wrote on your Tuesdays with Maury test about, on one of them, particularly the question about feeling self-pity. Several of you wrote about knowing that it's not right that you feel so overwhelmed, and that, you know that it's not that bad. And I know that, talking to some of you, you do feel overwhelmed with the school stuff. Now, and some of you that said that are not the wait until Saturday kids who all are overwhelmed because of bad planning. Some of you, it's because there is a lot to do. Now, I want to give you guys a couple of real quick closing notes here. First of all, about what I just said about the feeling overwhelmed. Guys, we've got this week and 2 more. You can do this, all right? Buckle down, let's work our hardest, and know that you are very capable. Sit down, make a list of when everything is due, knock out the things that have to be done, and make sure you manage that time. If you've got some extra time, as much as you would love to do something that you want to do, if you know that the days coming up are going to be stressful, go ahead and get some more done. Front load your week, get a lot of this stuff out of the way, and then move on. Even if you want to keep going and finish the rest of these questions and read it, you do not need these videos to answer these, all right? These videos are there because I can't just have you do this and not talk about it. It is killing me not to get feedback from you personally, except on the tests and questions. And by the way, your tests were amazing. I am bragging so much on my 10th grade classes right now and telling my wife how important it is that I have you guys to do this, because my seniors are rushing to get through a lot of them. It's just, let's get this done. I have kids who made A's last year who are making F's, or last quarter who are making F's now and just don't care. You guys have really risen to the occasion, and I want you to know that I appreciate it. Second thing about what we've read today, the birthday section, even though that second one I didn't pay it much attention, it's important. Okay, go ahead and read it. Tomorrow when I prep for the next section, as we get into kind of him meeting the first person, I promise to have a lot more. I'll have some notes together so I don't have to kind of reread it as I'm lecturing. You guys know that when we're in class, that's what I do. I read it, then I stop and talk about it. And the funny thing is if you come back during, like, let's say you're in second period and you hear that, and you come back 6th period, when we read it again, I hit most of the same points, but something else may come to mind. I may go in a different direction. It's not a teaching from notes thing, so this is kind of difficult for me. But I hope you're enjoying the book so far. This is, like I said, this is one of my favorite books. Just the concept of it is brilliant to me. It's not one of those fancy books. The writing style is not like very literary, but what it makes you think and how it makes you feel is right up there with some of the strongest I've ever seen. So anyway, apologize for a lot of rambling in this video. I kind of enjoy having this platform to just talk. I just wish there was some way to interact a little better. So I hope you're enjoying the book. I hope you're having no problems. I haven't heard anything from any of you at this point, so hopefully everyone's doing well. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for the next section as we get into some of the meat of this book. All right.